This is an electron micrograph of the structure of the testes, and in this photo you can really see that in the testes there are two main structures. There are the seminiferous tubules, which are these cylindrical structures. The seminiferous tubules are where sperm production takes place. And then outside of the seminiferous tubules, like these cells in red, those are called interstitial cells. Interstitial cells fill the space in between the seminiferous tubules, and this is where testosterone production takes place. And so in the testes, we have two major parts, the seminiferous tubules that produce sperm, and then the interstitial cells, which are not part of the seminiferous tubules, that produce testosterone. As far as the interstitial cells go, they stay as straightforward as that. The interstitial cells produce testosterone. The seminiferous tubules are a little bit more complex in structure and function. So let's take a closer look at the seminiferous tubules in this video. This is a photo taken from a light microscope, and so this one looks much more like what we would see in lab, where this is a segment of a seminiferous tubule, and we can see one seminiferous tubule kind of in the center of our field of vision, and we can see part of another seminiferous tubule over here, and then we can see some interstitial cells in between the seminiferous tubules. And so in the seminiferous tubule, we can see it's an actual tubule. In other words, it's hollow in the middle. And this hollow inside of the tubule is known as the lumen. So here's another view through a seminiferous tubule. And we know that seminiferous tubules produce sperm. Sperm production occurs when a type of cell, very generically known as a spermatogenic cell, undergoes meiosis. And the basic premise of how this works is that the very earliest, most undifferentiated spermatogenic cell, known as a spermatogonium, is found on the outer periphery. And as it undergoes meiosis, it moves in towards the lumen. So the most immature spermatogenic cells are on the outer periphery, and the ones that are closest to being sperm cells are being pushed out into the lumen. Let's take a closer look at that. This is a close-up picture of one portion of a seminiferous tubule. So we can see the outer periphery of the tubule, and we can see this is the hollow lumen of the tubule. And we know that there are two cell types that make up the seminiferous tubule. There are spermatogenic cells, and these are the spermatogenic cells that I'm highlighting in green. These are the cells that are undergoing meiosis and turning into sperm cells. And as meiosis continues, these spermatogenic cells do take on a different name at each stage of meiosis that they're in, which I'll talk about in a different video. But these are the spermatogenic cells undergoing meiosis, turning into sperm cells. And then there are the cells called sustentacular cells, which I would think of as more structural. They make up the wall of the seminiferous tubule. You can see two sustentacular cells here. They're the light pink cells, kind of the columnar-shaped cells that are surrounding the spermatogenic cells. I'm going to highlight those cells green. So you can see the two columnar-shaped sustentacular cells. These dark purple blobs, those are the nuclei of the two sustentacular cells. So the sustentacular cells never turn into sperm cells. They make up the wall of the seminiferous tubule. They nurture and protect the cells that are turning into sperm cells, and they move them along in the right direction. Taking a closer look at these two cell types, doesn't it look like the spermatogenic cells are right inside of the sustentacular cells? That's so confusing at first. Actually, the spermatogenic cells never enter inside of the sustentacular cell. They just displace it. And so we might see that better over here on the side, where we can see the indentations where spermatogenic cells were located, kind of like a fist into a water balloon. The spermatogenic cells jut into the sustentacular cells, displacing them as they get pushed towards the lumen, but these cells aren't actually inside of the sustentacular cell. They're outside of the plasma membrane